Sissy.
Okay. This first story is all about the morgue assistant. How does it feels working alone at night with the corpse surrounding of you? This story you will be hearing tonight is a story of my friend who working at the hospital morgue. He shared his different, unexplainable experience working at night alone with the dead body surrounding. It was his first week when he started noticing different sounds, a weird and creepy one. At first, he used to ignore it, like every time he will use to the bathroom. Door is starting to shut by itself. He said, "Oh, it's just the wind." It was a rainy night. That night, there's a typhoon. So he kept waiting for the reliever on his work. Because the typhoon getting stronger, he used to call the admin of the hospital. "Hello? May I know if my reliever is already arrived?" And the admin replied him, "She's still not here. Would you like to get her number?" And he replied, "No, thanks. I got her number." "Okay, thank you." While he was dialing Carol's numbers, he felt a cold air behind his neck. Feels like a cold breath of someone. He started to feel chills. He checked the windows, it's all closed. So he ignored it and continued calling his reliever. "Hello? Carol? What time you will be here? I have to get home cause I was worried with my family too because of this bad weather. But the signal is really bad." He never heard clearly what Carol's replied. It's been an hour that he waited for Carol, his reliever, until he felt sleep. A cold breeze at the back of his neck waked him up. He went to the bathroom, but the door is hard to push. Then trying and trying until it's open. After washing his face, when he turned back, the doors opened by itself. "I think I have to call the maintenance. Maybe it's broken." Upon checking his reliever, he decided to walk to the admin station to ask if his reliever could possibly be at work. Excuse me, Ma'am Beth. Do we have any news or do Carol call you? I think it's impossible for her. The typhoon is getting bad." Mom Beth started to ask a question. "Hey, how does it feel staying at the morgue alone? With lots of dead bodies around you?" He replied, It's quiet and sometimes a little bored, especially if the doctor is not there. Do you feel something weird? Their conversation cut out because of a new corpse need to be taken inside the morgue. Hey bro, you got another guess. They are talking about the new dead body that arrived. While he was fixing the new corpse that just arrived, he felt someone standing on his back, and he heard a weird sound on his ear. He started to feel scary. Then the power shut down. Because of the bad weather, when he turned back, someone grabbed his hand, and he freezed for a while. And it started to get scary more. Am I imagining or dreaming? By the help of the light from the lightning, he just saw all of the corpse standing, and the weird sound started to get more louder. He ran to grab the flashlight on his desk. He was shaking and sweating. The fear is getting intense until the power turned back on. He sit for a while until he noticed one of the freezer for the corpse is open. He closed it when suddenly someone touched his shoulder. When he turned back, it was the doctor. It was the doctor will going to do the autopsy. Are you okay? Why it seems that you see a ghost? That was the time he felt relieved. Finally, I get someone. But he kept wondering about what he experienced that night inside the morgue. And that's the story of my friend that working as an assistant in the hospital morgue. Thank you. And tonight we will going to hear another creepy story to be told by my Cece turned tulip. Are you ready, Cece? Let's get it on.
I'm ready. Welcome, everybody. Today, I'm going to be telling two stories. One of them is my own, and the other one is from one of the ladies on this app from the same agency as me, and her name is Shira. So Shira told me the story in her language, in Bahasa, so I managed to translate it for everybody to hear. So I hope you guys enjoy this, okay? Because it's pretty creepy. So this is a story that's shared by Jira from the fam. And this happened to her about 8 years ago. When she was like 19 years old. Now, back then she was staying in this village in the city called Johor Bahru. This village is called Kampung Paritani. So, according to the customs in Johor, whenever there was a wedding, there will be a performance done by a group of people. And this is a dance performance. And it's called in Bahasa the Kuda Kepang dance. So Kuda Kepang is translated as the flat horse. The reason why it's called flat horse is because they would have a cutout of a horse on a wooden piece, a plank, and they'll be decorated to look like a very fancy, colorful horse. And people will be wearing this with a harness and going around dancing. But the catch is, before the dance, they would be possessed by the deities. So this is pretty scary because a lot of the rituals that happens during these dances, the people who are performing this Kuda Kepang dancers, they will be eating glass, stepping on hot fire coal with no pain. And you would see that their eyes are turned upward, so all you see is the whites of their eyes, and they're going around and dancing and in a whole trance. It is said that if you wore anything red, a Kuda Kepang dancer will come and chase you around, wanting to bite you because it provoked them. So in this village, every time there was a wedding, there is always a Kuda Kepang performance. So Shira's grandpa, he is a grand master for the dance. So he goes around teaching and he's a master of the ceremony. So there's this one particular wedding and her parents were out of town. Her parents went back to Terengganu. She was all alone at home. This was in another city. So her house is right beside her grandpa's house, but it's not adjoining, so they were kind of beside each other. So that evening when the wedding ceremony was going on, of course they had the Kuda Kepang performance. Shira decided, I'm just gonna go home and I'm gonna go to sleep. So she went home, she closed the door, went into her bedroom, got into her bedroom clothes and lie down on the bed. And as the music started, she started feeling very weak. So this is how the music sounds. I'm gonna let you guys hear it, okay? The sound that you're hearing is that of an instrument called the gamelan. It's like a xylophone that you hit on. And there will be one master of the ceremony carrying a whip, supposedly whipping the dancers. So the minute she started hearing this music, she started getting really weak, and she was like, I'm gonna go to sleep. So Shira dozed off. Not a long while after, she was suddenly awakened because she felt like someone was looking at her. She slowly opened her eyes, and right there, at the door of her room, was a man. Now this man, he had a black beard, and he was wearing all white clothes. And for some reason, he was wearing this really bright red eyeliner. The expression on his face was really fierce and menacing. He was saying something to Shira, but she couldn't make out what he was saying because the music was loud and it was still going on. And there was shouting that was coming from the dancers every time they were getting whipped. And every time they started shouting, Shira felt weaker and weaker and weaker. And with every shout, she felt like her body was sinking into the earth. Now, Shira was actually lying on the bed, but for some reason, she felt her body sinking right into the earth. And with a third shout, she felt she was drowning. And she was gasping for air, and her whole body was numb. She didn't know what to do. Shira felt like she wanted to cry. But she wasn't really feeling anything, not even fear. She was just thinking, I want to get up. And she was thinking of ideas on how to get out and how to get out of there. She was puzzled because she was, 1 minute on the bed, and somehow she ended up in the earth. And her face was barely above ground, so she was just able to breathe. She wasn't even able to say anything. She was desperate to get out. So she said some prayers to herself. And then suddenly, she said the name of God. And just as it happened, suddenly, she was back on the bed. And not drowning in the earth anymore. But by this time, Jiro was in a weakened state. The old man that was by her door, he disappeared. But the story didn't end there. This whole night, as the music was going on, Shira couldn't get up. She felt like she was immobilized. She doesn't know why. Maybe it was the enchantment from the music. So Jira fell asleep. And she woke up the next day in the late afternoon. She decided, I feel hungry. I'm gonna go to the kitchen and get some food to eat. And she was walking to the kitchen. She realized, the day was getting darker as dusk was approaching. Suddenly she heard noises coming from her grandpa's house. And I remember, her grandpa's house was just beside hers, even though they were not adjoining together. So she kind of thought maybe my grandpa's at home. So she started peeking through the window into her grandpa's house. In the dim light of the dusk, it was getting darker. To her surprise, what she saw was a figure with red eyes. I'm gonna show you what this creature kind of looks like in drawing. I hope this gets sent. Now look at the comments. Do you see the picture? So, this figure that she saw was tall and big, and his skin was red, and he had wide hair falling on both sides. Very scary looking with his eyes. There was another figure that she saw, and this one was pretty short, but really scary. It was short and fat, and that very long tongue too. Very spooky looking. It looks like the devil himself. So both of these figures started fighting with each other. There was a lot of them, but these were the two that she kind of saw through the window. And they were fighting. But she couldn't understand the words because it sounded like tigers growling. But also because they were speaking in this very old Japanese language. Shira could understand the modern one, but she couldn't understand the old one because it sounded very complicated. Now the voices were so loud, so the walls of her house were like tremoring, were shaking and trembling with their loud growls too. She just continued peeking through a window and trying to listen to what they were saying. But suddenly, they realized they were being watched. They saw her, and then they went silent. Immediately, the both of them started walking towards the Kudakipang props, and they disappeared. Zira began wondering, isn't it my grandpa? How come he's not at home? So she went out of the house and went to the neighbor right in front to ask if they knew if he was home, but they said he went out. He was out to the next village to prepare for the next Kudakebang performance. For some reason, ever since then, every time Zira saw a Kudakebang performance, she would stay away. She doesn't know where the figures came from, and she just felt scared. She went back home and she was just wondering. One day, she asked her grandpa. Now, bearing in mind, right after that day, she had a fever for 3 days straight. Maybe because she was kind of shocked looking at the two figures. So she told her grandpa about it, and he kind of brushed it off and started chiding her, telling her it served her right, that they were just, trying to scare her. Yeah, I hope you guys liked that story, and that was a real story from Jira in bubble number 5. She couldn't tell the story, of course, because it was in Bahasa, so I had to translate it for her. But these were all true. Now, my next story, this happened when I was in my mid-20s. So back then, me and my friends and my partner at that time, we're all busy working adults, and we just wanted to take a short break and go for a little getaway in Singapore. So we booked a holiday chalet in the eastern part of Singapore. So this holiday chalets were near the beach. So at this beach, there was like a nature reserve and a swamp. This place was very notorious for paranormal activities and sightings of ghosts and creatures and whatnot. And there were a lot of people who went there to go for night walks and saw all sorts of ghosts. At the entrance of the swamp, from one end, from the western end, there was a public toilet. So me and my friends and my partner would decided to go to that entrance because it's the one closest to the swamp. So we were walking towards that entrance and we were talking about how we're going to plan our route. So we will go in through the entrance and walk through the swamp. Now, on top of the swamp was like a bridge, a wooden bridge. So we decided to walk on that bridge and get to a watchtower. Now, there was this watchtower that was about 4 stories high, and you could climb up the stairs to get to the very top. And on that tower, a lot of people say that whenever you stand at the top of their tower and you look down amongst the swamp and the trees, sometimes you could see figures in white, figures in black, dark shadows, figures in red, really scary looking ghosts on certain nights. So we walked on to get to that entrance. And when we saw the public bathroom, we're like, okay, let's go to the bathroom first, in case. So everybody went to the bathroom, and I was the first one out. So I was standing in front of the bathroom, public bathroom entrance, and just looking towards the entrance of that swamp. Now, surrounding that entrance were like these tall, flame of the forest trees, were really high, really tall. And this was like almost midnight. Out of nowhere, I saw like a white piece of cloth. First it was like really small and it was just going from one end to one end. And I thought maybe it's just bird or something, just flying at the tops of the trees. But then I realized it was getting closer towards me. And it was getting bigger. And I think it was like almost 15 meters away that I couldn't make out that it was a big piece of cloth, like a dress, with a head and long, straggly black hair. I was so scared. I didn't know what that was, and I figured it can't be a bird flying at the top of the trees being that big, and there's no way it's going to be a bird. Nuh-uh. So I went to find my friends and my partner, and I was telling them, we can't go, we can't go. I want to go back. I want to go back. Let's go back. Let's go back. Let's go back. And of course, everybody started getting pissed at me because they already went all the way here, you know. And I was like, no, I don't want to go. I started crying and crying and crying and crying. No, I don't want to go. Let's go back, please. I don't want to go. I just cried and cried profusely until everybody gave in. For some reason, I was trembling. My body was shaking so hard, and I couldn't control myself. That my friends had to literally carry me. So we got to the main road, and they hailed a taxi, and we managed to ask the taxi driver if all 7 of us could come just cramp into that taxi, and luckily it was a big one. So we went back to the chalet, and when we got inside, I didn't talk, I didn't say anything. I just took off my shoes, and I just lay down on the bed, sobbing to sleep. It wasn't that long now. I woke up, and it was really dark. And then I heard a woman humming, very faint humming. One moment it was loud, another moment it got softer, but it was a woman's voice. It was such an unfamiliar tune, but at the same time it kind of felt familiar. I don't know how to explain it. So I got up, and I went to the back door of the chalet. I opened the door, and I looked outside. At the back of the chalet were the benches and the barbecue pits. I stepped outside and put on my slippers. And kind of in a daze, I just started looking around, and I saw my friends and my partner. They were sitting under a gazebo. And under that gazebo, there were like picnic benches, and so they were all kind of sitting around underneath. I started walking slowly towards them. And as I was walking slowly towards them, the humming stopped. It was very strange because when I was walking towards them, it felt very surreal. It was like I was wading through water, you know, like how you're walking in the water when you're at the beach. It was very slow and very hard for me to walk towards them. After what felt like forever, I finally got to the gazebo. So all my friends and my partner started looking at me. I just didn't react. I walked towards one of my friends, and her name was Noor, and she was sitting on a bench. I went straight to her. I turned around, right in front of her, and sat on the floor. My hand reached backwards for her hand, and I guided her hand to my head. Then I made soft stroking motions, indicating for her to do the same. She started asking me, "What do you want?" And I continued doing the soft stroking motions. Eventually she obliged, and she did exactly that. Now my friends and my partner, they kind of thought that it was weird that I was so unusually quiet. So they started asking me questions, but I ignored them, and I kept looking down on the floor. My partner just touched me on my shoulder, and I didn't even look at her. Suddenly, My hands reached out for my hair, and I started stroking it gently downwards with both of my hands, smiling. A sinister smile, according to my partner. I didn't speak, but all I did was just look down. Now, as this was happening, I felt like I couldn't control myself. Every time someone talked to me and every time someone was asking me a question I couldn't answer, I felt myself moving backwards, slowly, until, for some reason, I could see the back of my head. I could also see the back of my friend's head. Like I was literally standing behind my friend, Nor. I could see her hand stroking my head, and I could see that her mouth was, saying prayers to help me. I didn't understand what was happening. But suddenly there beside me was a lady, and she was dressed in white. She had long hair that flowed all the way down to the back of her thighs. But she didn't move, she just stood there as I was stroking my hair slowly. I tried to call out, Nor, Dino! Guys, what's happening? Can't you guys hear me? Guys, come on now! I was screaming, I was so exasperated. Until I gave up and I started screaming to myself. But I couldn't do anything. I couldn't move my body. My body was just moving on its own. I couldn't control myself. Eventually, right before dawn, I started putting my head on my friend's leg, and I dozed off to sleep. The next thing I knew, when I woke up, it was already morning. And my friends and my partner, they were all looking at me and asking me, are you okay? Are you okay? What happened? I was in such a daze, I didn't understand what was going on. So I asked him, why are we outside? Weren't we? Wait, what happened? Wasn't I sleeping in bed? And they all looked at me, puzzled. My partner came to me and asked me, didn't you remember what you did? I'm like, no. You came out here walking on your own. Like you were dazed and confused, and you sat down and you asked Nor to stroke your head. You didn't talk, you were just sitting there, stroking your hair and smiling in such a scary way. You didn't answer any of us. You just kept on doing that for almost 2 hours. 2 hours? I didn't realize what was happening, but according to one of my friends, I could have gotten possessed. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed that story, but that was really scary for me because that was my first experience being like that. All right now.
God, I get shocked at the last part, Cece. The shout. I almost dropped on my chair, my God. That was nice, Cece. Congratulations to us. Yeah, that was a real scary. I don't know if a Paisert beside you is listening or on unmute.
Okay, so if you guys would like to share your story, please do so. We'll leave it open for everybody.
Yeah. You want to share your stories, Dark Raven? Is there anyone to want to share their creepy story? Just say boo. Do you really, Cece, I'm going to ask, do you really felt that it seems you like possessed that time?
I don't know, but that's what my friends were telling me. Maybe that was what it was. But like for me, throughout that experience, I just couldn't even say or do anything. So it felt very muggy, like you're underwater and you're trying to walk in the water. That's what it felt
Uh-huh,
like.
uh-huh,
Yeah. But you're kind of seeing yourself as a third person from behind. So yeah.
uh-huh.
So maybe, I don't know. I've never heard anybody else tell me about this experience.
How does it feels do you felt like your body is cold or warm, something like that?
I mean, it was already a cold night, so yeah, it kind of felt very cold. And I was very, very weak after that. I think I was sleeping for the whole day after, and I got a fever for a couple of days. But yeah, you know, probably, yeah, very cold. I might go to sleep now.
Yeah, that
Can
was
you really
that
sleep,
was really
Hazard?
yeah. Paisert will not gonna pee. She can't she can't even go to the bathroom tonight.
Oh, I love
So guys, that's our stories for tonight.
it. Do you have another story, Sissy? Maybe you'd like to tell another
Uh
story?
that's the only yeah, that's the only one that I had
Okay.
tonight.
So if you want, I can share another one. Not very well prepared for this one, but I got another one that I could tell if it's okay
All
with you.
right, Cece.
Okay. So this was something that happened to me um, a very long time ago when I was probably 5 or 6 years old. So when I was younger, my mom and dad they like going to the beach, and we would set up a tent and was camp out for a couple of days over the weekends. And then sometimes my dad would go fishing, or he would you know get on a little speedboat and get to the middle of the sea to catch fish. My mom will be with me, sometimes, uh, you know, telling me stories about life and having a talk with me. So this one particular night, my dad was out with his friends fishing. So there was just me, my mom, and it was, I think, almost midnight. Now this was like right in front of the beach, right at the beach itself. We're surrounded by a lot of trees. There was hardly anyone around. So my mom already fell asleep, and I was kind of like having trouble dozing off. Suddenly, I started listening to the sounds around me, and I heard the sound of water going, like somebody was like kind of jumping on the water and like throwing it around. So I peeked out from outside, from inside the tent, and looked at the water line. There was nobody there. We were like about 3, 4 meters away. There was no one inside. Nobody was around. So I went back into the tent, and I was like, huh, maybe it's just, animals, birds, or whatever. And the sound started again. Now this time around, I went out very quickly and went to the water line and started looking around if there was an animal. I was very young. I was like, 6 years old. I really loved animals, so I was thinking maybe it's something I could catch, you know, and bring home to make it into a pet or something. I saw something in the water. It kind of looks like a little plastic bag that was kind of white, like a jellyfish in the water. and it kept drifting closer and closer and closer to me. So I picked up a stick that was kind of like lying on the beach, and I picked up a stick and I started like pulling at this piece of film. And as I pulled it closer, started, pulling back. So I kept pulling at it, and it kept pulling me back into the water. I tried tugging it and tugging it and tugging it. And then, for some reason, I felt like I was being pulled into the water. Now, I was already waist deep. I didn't realize how deep I was in the water. And I just kept following this piece thing, trying to pull it out. And suddenly I heard my mom screaming at me, "What are you doing?" And she came running towards me. I looked back at her and I was confused. I was puzzled. I was like, "I'm trying to get this out of the water," I shouted to her. And she came at me and she grabbed me by my shirt and pulled me out of the water. Now my mom, she brought me somewhere else. There was a McDonald's that was kind of 24 hours, and there was always people around there. So she just took our belongings and she went to the McDonald's, and that's when she, you know, stayed and waited for my dad. My dad came back a little bit later, and I already fell asleep. But at one part, I kind of like woke up a little bit, and I heard my mom and my dad talking. And what my mom said was what chilled me to the bone. My mom told my dad there was a really big lady that was like a sea hack that she could see trying to pull me into the water. Maybe it wanted to drown me and claim me as a victim. I could have died that night if it wasn't for my mother seeing that and pulling me out. And up till this day, every time I went to the beach, I kept remembering that very night when I was trying to pull something out from the water. And every time I see something like that in the water, I didn't dare to go in. I just walked straight out of there and went back home. Have you guys ever seen something like that at the beach at night?
God, that's creepy, CC.
Yeah.
I for me, I don't like, I don't like walking at the beach at night alone. It just feels like there's someone always following me, something like that.
Yeah.
So that's really creepy, CC. I hope everybody tonight can go to the bathroom to to pee. And I'm sure Paisert is number one will going to pee on her bed.
And be careful of seeing things in the water. When you see something in the water, run.
Maybe it's the girl who used to possess you earlier, and then the girl on the water. Maybe they are one.
I don't
They are the
know.
same.
Honestly, I
The
don't
same
know.
ghost.
I
Yeah,
can pee tomorrow.
definitely. She was trying to get you, CC.
I don't know. But yeah. So far, I've been pretty lucky. Whatever experiences that I had didn't really affect me too much, but maybe that's the
Uh-huh.
reason why I don't get too scared. Now, do you guys have any stories of your own to share? When I go to PLP at the floor.
Yeah,
Oh
you can tell
Lord.
your stories.
I like Pontiana, right?
Dark. I know Dark Raven got some stories because he was a security guard before.
Ooh. Dr. Craven, would you
In
like to share your
in
story with us?
yeah,
Please do.
dark. Share your stories.
Wait lang.
Come on. Yeah, I think he's not prepared. Maybe next Monday, CC.
Okay, okay. I'll go next to PY. Next to, oh, next to Pi. Okay.
Yeah.
If you guys would like to share your stories, please do so. We'll be doing this every Monday at midnight, either in my room or Shagile's room. And you're welcome to come and share your
Next month,
stories.
next Monday, CC, it will be in your room.
So we'll take turns, okay? So you guys can, think about what stories that you have had and come share it with us. So I hope that spooked you guys out. Are you guys gonna go to sleep later?
CC, the other one, the Japanese who just came in. I was trying to he scared more. I told to him that check behind your closet, under your bed, check your bathroom behind the door. Now he left. He said, I'm out of here. So
Okay, okay,
that's it for
Raven.
tonight, CC.
I think Raven wants to share a story, but I think his roommate is there. I'm not so sure.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Maybe he can do that next Monday, CC. We still got next Monday, right?
Ooh, Shira, that's scary. I always see this ghost. Oh my god.
Oh,
Is this not
really?
gonna
This
go to sleep?
ghost?
Mm-hmm. Shira always sees this ghost. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that session today. Um, if we're lucky, next Monday we will have more stories to share. And Raven, you will feature Raven on that day to come in and tell his story. I'm sure as a security guard, you have plenty of stories. I know a lot of my friends who are security guards who told me so many stories.
Especially on night shift.
Exactly. You guys have to do like the patrols and you guys have to, what do you call that? Do clocking, right? Go to like certain points and, clock in or something. I heard a lot of scary stories about security guards at night.
And you
So,
know what, CC? That place is really haunted.
ooh.
It's one of the popular place in Baguio.
Oh my
A
god.
haunted. Yeah.
That's
So
way
that's the
scary,
really
huh?
interesting.
Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed today's stories. I think we had like what, four stories? Yeah? Four stories? Yeah,
Yeah, we got
about
four
there.
stories tonight.
Okay. Next week I will tell about two stories. I want to leave it open to everybody else to tell their stories, so at least it's more fun. If any of you guys would like to tell your story, but you're a bit shy, or if are more comfortable in your own language, if it's Bahasa or Tagalog, please approach me or Shaile. Shaile can translate into English and tell the story for you. I can do so in Bahasa and also tell the story for you. So if you're not confident enough to do it, it's okay. We will be telling the stories on your behalf. But do let us know and tell us the story. So,
Yeah,
yeah, we
exactly.
can rewrite everything and translate it. Next week I'll share mine. Ooh, fascinating.
We
All
got
right,
yeah.
that'll be fun. About your
Congratulations,
workplace,
CC,
for
for the
real?
second.
Damn.
Yeah. Anyway, CC, I would like to congratulate us for the
Yes.
second Monday. We got a lot of listeners earlier. We're on
Mhm.
top 9 on the Discovery.
Woohoo! Not bad. Yeah, we're kind
Yeah.
of hoping to grow this every Monday, so this will be a weekly thing. We'll have this session every Monday. So, guys,
Uh-huh.
please, whenever we come on, please help us to share so more people can come in and listen, and maybe more people want to share their stories too. It'll be really fun, you know, telling really scary stories at night so people can't go to sleep. Look behind you,
You know,
Bison.
I really love the way you whisper and you laugh, Sisi. I really I adore you with that.
Yeah.
Right, Pizer? Yes. And then you're good for makeup art. You're a good makeup artist also. Nice, Sisi.
Oh, this picture that
What?
Shira showed us, this is the
Yeah.
pochong.
Pochong. Yeah. They call it pochong, right?
Yeah. Not scared the story, I'm scared what Georgia do when she get mad. Yeah, I get mad. I get proper mad. I'm scary when I'm mad.
Yeah, pochong.
That's so naughty, right?
That's scary.
Oh, I'll let you guys listen to the gamelan, you know, the kuda kepang. Jira, do you have a picture of kuda kepang? Can you put it in the comments? So this is the music. I'll let you guys hear this properly because just now I wasn't able to play the full thing. So as you can hear, it's a very enchanting song. It puts you in a kind of trance when you start listening to it. Those whipping sounds you hear are the master of the ceremony, like whipping the dancers when they're possessed and dancing around the court. So most of them will be playing the gamelan, and then there's some gongs and a couple of drums. So that's the kudakepang dance. So you can see they have this like wooden thing that they put between the legs, and they put it up on harnesses, so they're going around, you know, dancing. So it's a whole dance performance, and that's pretty scary because the performance they they are very I would say they're possessed basically. Like you can't even see the whites of their eyes, the blacks of their eyes. Their eyes are just white, and they're just going around walking, like as if they can see where they're going, but you know they can't. It's not a festival; it's a dance performance, and they always have it at some weddings usually. Yeah, so they would actually like call upon like deities and gods and whatever to possess them, and it's a traditional dance. So this is even when you witness the dance, it's kind of unnerving when you go to watch it. It's not something that's I would say like a happy, joyous dance. It's something that people watch and people are kind of like entranced by it. So if you guys wanna go and Google for it, you can go and type Kuda Kepang on YouTube, and you can see some performances. So Kuda means horse. Do you hear how the music is repetitive? So it's like a very trance. It puts you in a trance kind of music, very hypnotic music. And some people, when they hear this kind of music, it kind of makes them more susceptible to being possessed. That's what I heard for some people who are very weak, you know, spiritually. So it's not a good idea to go for a kudakebang dance when you're kind of weak. And definitely not a good idea if you're wearing red. So you're not supposed to be wearing anything red. Because then the dancers will be coming to you and chasing you around wanting to bite you. Because for some reason it provokes them. So yeah. So that is the kudakepang dance. Yeah, you're not supposed to wear red. There was one performance when I was a child. I think I was like 9, 10 years old. and there was like a wedding, and there was a kudakibang performance. So we live in apartment flats, so they had this wedding at under a whole tent, and there was this performance. So that day, I wasn't going to that wedding. I was just passing by to go to the shop to go buy something, and I was wearing a red T-shirt. It was like bright red T-shirt, right? So when I was walking back, one of the dancers, for some reason, like he looked at me and he started chasing me, and I was so scared. Yeah, we do have it in Singapore too, because we do have a quite a huge population of Javanese people here. So this dancer started chasing me. So this ceremony was at a different block. So I had to run all the way towards my block and really run towards the lift. And luckily for me, as I got to the lift door opened and I got in and I managed to close the door right before that dancer managed to pounce at me. And I ran up to my house and I managed to get home. But according to my grandma, she told me that if the dancer caught me that day, he would have bitten me and hurt me because wearing red is a symbol of provoking them, so they don't like it for some reason. So yeah, be careful if you're watching Kuda Kebang dance. Make sure you're not wearing red. Nothing red, yeah. So that happened to me when I was quite small. I didn't really understand it. But as I got older, people explained to me that these dancers were all possessed. Sometimes they'll be eating fruits, sometimes they would be eating pieces of broken glass, and it doesn't hurt them. Sometimes they'll be walking on hot, fiery coals, and they don't feel anything. Yeah. So they get whipped around the court while they're dancing, like a whole procession. So they don't feel any pain. They don't know what they're doing. They're not aware of themselves. They're just like, dancing around, and that's it. Oh yeah. According to Jira, before you do a Kudakebang dance performance, you're supposed to be fasting for 7 days and 7 nights. So for some reason, you kind of have to cleanse your body from food and whatever. Um, so yeah, for it to be a host, to be possessed by all these deities, right? So yeah, not an easy thing. Yeah, they have to kind of do that. So maybe next time we'll share some things. Um, Next week I will be sharing about black magic, and what I learned from one of my friends on how to. Yeah, there's some things that I learned from some of my friends when I was reading about stuff. Sebelum mula dia
Can you teach
mempertemukan
me?
dengan pengenangan. I don't know. I don't know the whole ceremony, but I know like certain ways that they're doing it. So before
It's
they start the dance performance, they'll eat raw eggs and a flower. Nga kananga. I'm not so sure what is a kananga. What is a kananga in English? Wait, I have to translate that. It's a
kananga.
kind of flower. I need to go, guys. Okay, okay, okay. Bye bye.
Kananga.
Wait. I think a kananga is. Oh, it's the liang liang, liang liang flower, according to Google Translate. Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. We've come to the end of our session. We'll see you again next Monday. Bye, guys. Good
Thank you
night.
so much.
I hope you guys get nightmares tonight.
Have a creepy nightmare.